Hey everybody, it is almost noon. It's Tuesday, May 25th, and this is basically a different video because the first one was just too long, and I'm sorry, and I did not want to do a long one. So I'm just going to do you a brief synopsis of what I've read so far in American Cozy. She talks about her upbringing. She was born over in Canterbury, Australia. Hopefully I said that right. And then her mother's family is from Ohio, not Ohio, excuse me, live in a town on the Nevada-Utah border. And then her dad's side of the family, they're Danish Americans. They're from Denmark. And she goes to talk about how the difference between her two different grandparents' houses were her Utah, or her Nevada family, her mom's side of the family, had a nice cozy house, but it was wall furnishings or decor of one form or another, and atypical American family where the house is overflowing with stuff. Not cluttered or disarray like my house, but just overflowing with decor and furnishings and whatnot. While her Danish family lived like they would in Denmark, very Haggy-like, or Hugie. She actually tells you how to pronounce it. It's Hugie or Huga. HEW-GUH. So it looks more like Hugie or Hugo. And she goes to talk about the differences between the two different styles. And she goes to talk about how she spent her younger days. I don't know how old she is because she doesn't really tell you that much, but she goes to talk about how she had literally become a lifestyle expert by studying various different lifestyles from different parts of the world, like the feng shui of China, the kundu, cannot pronounce it, Kondo, which is a modern day Japanese style. And then she remembered her grandparents and started studying the Hugi of Denmark. And basically between those three different lifestyles and whatnot, she came up with this American Cozy because, well, why not? I mean, America is kind of a mixing pot of the three different idealisms or styles, or however you want to put it. But then she goes to describe in her first book, understanding or getting to know what comfort is or coziness is. And she talks about how we Americans we overdo it. We have too much activities, too much stuff in our house, too focused on work, too many obligations, too many schedules to keep, that we just spend most of our days running around trying to keep our obligations and whatnot, instead of slowing down and making things less complicated. So she goes to talk, I mean, I'm paraphrasing a lot of stuff because I don't want to spend a whole lot of stuff reading, but I will actually read some pointers from the actual, not the intro, but the actual book itself, part 1. And basically she's going to say that how everything is a choice. And she goes to talk about how Denmark, her family's home, her grandparents, her dad's side of the family is from. And I'm not going to even read the, get to know Denmark bullet points. I'm sorry, I lost my point. I lost my placing because I was. This one section that I'm going to definitely read because it kind of made me go, she's talking about my dad. The first thing is she talks about how, for whatever reasons, we don't maybe we had a bad childhood, and we don't shed our agitations and, negativities, and we become bitter people who are just grumpy all the time. But then she goes to say, on the flip side, you probably know of a good character. Um, she was to talk about her dad, but I'm like, she's talking about her dad or my dad. My father used to say that living through adversity is a character building opportunity for those brave enough to learn about themselves and the world through their unease. These are often people who have experienced great loss or live daily with physical or emotional pain. People who are wise, brave, magnanimous, grateful, patient, open minded, and of reasonable good character. My point, comfort is a choice that can have less to do with the size of our own daily annoyances and turbulences and more to do with how we choose to see and appreciate what we have. In this chapter, we'll discuss how to celebrate the life affirming power of comfort and how to create comfort for yourself and your loved ones. And I just went, um, that's my dad. He lived through the 1940s Chicago where things were not easy. Life was hard, and a lot of times, he used to say a lot of times their food of the day, if it was one meal, or if it was more than one meal, it was basically the same thing cooked in a different method. And now it's basically homemade biscuits and gravy. And every so often they would be lucky enough to have a chunk of sausage or some sort of ground meat product, whether it was ground sausage or ground hamburger, to help make flavor in the gravy. Now, I look back at my life compared to what he used to talk about his life, and I go, I had a great life compared to what his childhood was like, because I always had food on my plate. We didn't struggle much. I got to see the world through the military, in my youth. I got to experience a lot of different things that most kids growing up the same time period I did were lucky enough to experience their hometown and maybe a nearby city. Or if family were living in a different state, they'd get to travel at least once a year to go see that family, like I did when we lived in Little Rock, Arkansas, and most of my mom's side of the family was up here in the St. Louis area. We get to come up here during the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, to celebrate the holidays. But still, there are even children during my time frame who didn't even get a decent meal, had to struggle. My wife, for one, having so many people in her house, she was lucky to get peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or bologna sandwiches for lunch if she took lunch to school, or scrounge for change just to get a carton of milk and a PB&J sandwich or something like that. I mean, I don't know what struggle is because I've never really had to struggle, but I know plenty of people who have had to struggle in their lives in one way or another. But I look at my wife. I take my wife as an example. She's talked about some hardcore life dealings and sleeping in closets because that was the only space she had to sleep in, and you know having to scrounge for change for lunch money and stuff like that, and hand me down clothes and worn out clothes, and a lot of negativity being thrown at her because of her looks and her shape, her size, and her clothing conditions and things like of that nature. And she came out to be very bright, chipper, and happy, and seeing the world through, as sometimes I say, rose-colored glasses. But you know what? Sometimes it's better to see the world through rose-colored glasses than look back at the hardships and and the memories of how harshly she was treated by her peers and things of that nature, and becoming a sour, grumpy old person. I had my childhood problems and whatnot because I was skinny, or coming back from Germany, people who didn't understand the history of Europe and just want to, make fun of me or be negative. And I wouldn't, I wouldn't allow it, because it's like, you guys don't know squat because you don't know the histories or the truth of it all. But then I had my family tragedy and I went downhill for quite some time, and I'm not back to where I was when I was a kid, but I'm trying to build myself back up, because in fact I realized that it takes more energy out of me to be grumpy than it does, because I mean, the last couple of days when I was wearing my vision of what I was supposed to be wearing in my Renaissance clothes, and who I felt I the time period I felt like I belonged to, and not trying to live in a fantasy world, just trying to be comfortable and happy, which basically exactly what these books are trying to tell me is find a way to be comfortable and happy, and screw the rest of the world if they don't like it. But I'm trying to literally wake up every day and be positive, and I'm hoping this book will help me change things around my environment to help that along. I'm I've said it time and time again. I'll say it again. I'm happy with being who I am. I don't care what the rest of the world thinks. I am tired of being grumpy. I'm tired of being unhappy or displeased or whatever by my style to make everybody else happy. I mean, we're not here to we're not here just to help everybody be happy, but we're not here to be unhappy within our own lives and our own skin or in our own homes, just to please the rest of the world. So my thing is, like, I'm not here to push people to be happy, because if I'm not happy, how am I going to help somebody else be happy? And if somebody else is who's not part of my immediate family is not happy because of my happiness, well, that's not my problem. That's their problem. Um, I had a viewer say that she likes the color purple, and she decided to take a section of her hair and a little strip basically, and dye it purple, because that's what made her happy. And somebody got all uppity about it, and well, that's not her problem. That's that person's problem. I'm not saying well, maybe I am. Yeah, maybe I am. I've heard of people who dressed in Star Trek costumes, Star Trek outfits, and go to work. In fact, this one lady I heard about through a documentary called Trekkies. This lady she worked at a pediatrics office, and she would go to work every day in Star Trek uniform clothing, and it was more of a conversational piece, and people actually kind of like enjoyed it, because it gave, especially the children, it gave the children a sense of calm in a situation that could have been nerve-wracking and stressful. I'm not saying, I mean, if you want to dress like a Trekkie, Star Trek fan, or even Star Wars, or any other genre of science fiction movies, as long as you don't look like some horror movie part or whatever. I'm not saying go dress like an alien and go to work like looking like Alien or Predator or anything like that, because that might be a little nerve wracking and stressful to the people around you, especially if you work with people like a pediatrics nurse. In Japan, which Japan has a very interesting, diverse culture, they have learned how to mix new with old. And in Japan, a lot of the young adult, older teenagers are given leeway to dress as their favorite anime character. And I've seen a lot of images and whatnot from Japan that during certain holidays or certain festivities or certain days or times or whatnot, they're allowed to dress up as their favorite anime character for a certain duration of time or whatnot. You had to go to school in your school uniform. You had to go to work in your work clothes. But on your free time, you were allowed to dress up as your favorite anime character and roam the streets of Japan. In Japan, they have literally learned how to take their old historical looks and whatnot. Even some of their old, they literally cherish and try to maintain and care for a lot of their old historical buildings. There are people who dress up because it's part of their culture and part of their world as gay, as the various men and women with the various outfits. I can't remember the name of their clothing. That robe that both men and women wear, and it's the style of the robe or the look of the robe or the color of the robe that determines male or female. But of course, they don't wear anything to cover their faces, so they can tell right away male or female. But there are a lot of people who honor their heritage and their ancestry by dressing up in the periodic clothing of the old dynasty or whatnot. Then there are the young people who dress up as their favorite anime character and go work shopping and walking around the streets, and people, as long as you follow certain rules and regulations, nobody cares. They're just like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. It's part of their culture. We here in America tend to shun that, tend to kind of frown or look down upon that if somebody were to dress up in whatever their favorite period clothing is, or anime character or fantasy character or whatever. Of course, now we have, like, you go to Vegas and they've got the Star Trek experience where a lot of people who work there are dressed up as Klingons or Federation or whatever they're doing for the casino. And then dotted throughout our country, we have the Renaissance Fair. And I'm learning about they're having different Viking festivals where people can actually sell Viking type or Viking inspired merchandise and dress up in Viking period clothing. And I'm like, that would be my ultimate. I mean, that would be the high of high levels of comfort and happiness, is if I can literally be a part of that on a regular basis and travel the country dressed in periodic clothing and helping with the festivities of whether it's the Renaissance Fair or the Viking Fair or anything of that genre. Yes, I do have a couple favorite anime characters, but I don't think I'll ever dress up as any of those except for maybe one. Well, two if I had all the costume parts or could get it all together. But there are two particular anime characters that have been my favorite throughout my time. Actually, more than that, because there's. Sorry, my brain just kind of went. Wait a minute, there's more than one, and started going through Rick Hunter from Robotech. There's Inuyasha from Inuyasha. Oh God. Can't remember his name off the top of my head, but Sword Art Online. The main character, what is his name? I don't know. I don't remember the name of the character right now because my brain is just not focusing on that. But the thing is, if we can sit down and literally go through our homes, and if we can go into a room, if we can look at a wall in a room, close our eyes, and see all, in our minds, see all the things that are on the wall, but then see what we can downsize or redecorate or reorganize so it doesn't look cluttered. And I know a lot of American people are like, but I have all these things for a reason. Yeah, I know. I have my wife who has a lot of things for reasons. Some of it is memories. Some of it is hopes and dreams for the future. Problem is, we don't know what the future is going to hold. I can sit here and look at a lot of things in this room alone that aren't just sitting about waiting to be taken to Goodwill or any of those places or used for a yard sale, and go, okay, these particular items are permanent items in the room. How can I clean it up? How can I declutter without aggravating Jerry Ann or getting rid of too much stuff that, yes, I can see the desire for, if and when this house is mine and Jerry's and don't have to worry about Mom. Not saying that I want anything to happen to Mom, but when the day comes when Mom is no longer with us and we're capable of turning this house into an Airbnb where we clean up Mom's side of the house and make it ours because it has that door that we can close off from the main part of the house. Clean up the 3 bedrooms, or the 3 rooms that we can use as bedrooms, and turn them into guest rooms. This would stay my office, clean it up a little bit, and have an Airbnb. I can see the need for extra plates or extra glassware, but we don't need all the extra crystal and china and whatnot that has been bought over the years. Some of it's Mom, some of it's mine and Jerry's. You don't want a house that looks overly cluttered, but you don't want a house that looks bare. It doesn't have to have wall-to-wall pictures or wall-to-wall furnishings or any of that stuff. The one guest room that's on the opposite, the one guest room that's on the opposite side of this wall has a roll-top desk. Now, if we downsize the way I want to, I could take that roll-top desk, put it into Mom's room, because Mom's room is the biggest room in the house, and turn it into my personal workspace in our bedroom, and still have plenty of room for enough furnishings to house our clothes, our nightstands, our bed. You know, it's much, much bigger than any of the other rooms in this house. And then Mom's office space, which has a walk-in closet, can be turned into Jerry's craft room or something along that line. But again, don't know what the future holds, so we don't know what we can do. But I feel that we can take the information from this book and turn this house into a cozy house without feeling overwhelmed. I know part of the problem is Jerry Ann, because she's lived her whole life in a house with a lot of stuff, and she's starting to get to the point where she's feeling overwhelmed. And the one thing I have not said to Jerry Ann, because I don't want to get her upset, but I was thinking about it last night during my day of anguish, or one of my days of anguish. If I'm the one who's going to be doing the bulk of the cleaning, I want the house to look the way I want it to. But I'm willing to sit down and talk with her and compromise to a certain extent. Because I went in and I cleaned up the kitchen and rearranged the kitchen a little bit so it did not look or feel overcrowded to me. There are some areas that can get worked on to be downsized and whatnot. We're talking about going through the cabinets and whatnot and downsizing some of the extra pots and pans and gadgetry and stuff that we don't use. So it's kind of like, if we're not using it, why are we keeping it? And I'm hoping we downsize to the point that we have more open space in our cabinets for what needs to be in there, and hopefully can downsize some of the cabinets that weren't part of the original build of this house, because we had installed 3 overhead cabinets and 3 floor cabinets along the one wall in the kitchen, and I'm like, the only reason why we needed it at the time was because the fact that we have mom's stuff combined with our stuff, and if we can downsize some of each person, some of our stuff, some of mom's stuff, because we don't use it, there's no need for it, it's just there taking up space, then maybe we can get rid of one of the floor cabinets. The overhead cabinets, the only reason why I really don't like them is because the fact that we installed them, we're not professional, and every so often I look at the cabinets and I see how they're starting to, there's a gap between the cabinet and the wall, and I'm like, I don't like that, because if something decides to give, those 3 overhead cabinets have breakable products and breakable items in there. I don't want to have to deal with the stuff broken in the cabinets, plus whatever damage could be done to the original cabinetry in the house, or items on the countertops, like our Ninja Foodie oven fried toaster oven multi-purpose unit. Bread box, I'm not too worried about, because they're not expensive. Just a lot of things that I worry about. And that's one of the reasons why I want to downsize a lot of stuff, because maybe we can get rid of a lot of that stuff. But my mind is already like, oh man, this is great information. Now if I can just find a way to use it in my home. Of course, I'm also thinking maybe I should be reading this book to Jerry Ann, but sometimes when I go read to Jerry Ann, she starts to fall asleep, because I have that, as she says, that dulcet voice tone that just relaxes and calms her down and puts her into a sleep type state of mind, which I don't mind. It's just I gotta watch when she's starting to fall asleep, so I can either stop reading or wake her up and ask her if she got all that. So I'm trying my best. It's not always working, because sometimes I get these great ideas and I go to talk to Jerry Ann, and Jerry Ann says something that is just like literally, yeah, great job of deflating that bubble, type feeling. Like when I first got to New York, and one of the biggest reasons I was not happy with New York is because a lot of the ideas that I came up with and talked about with my in-laws during family time, when everybody was together, it was like, oh, that birdie's down. I literally just, that's what I felt like. It's like every idea I had, every thought I had was shot down. Like I was meant to be more of a elf on the shelf type, syndrome. But of course, once I started to realize that I'm not a puppy that's just gonna roll over and let them rub my belly. I can be a standalone type entity that you just don't want to aggravate. Second day with that new shelf-stable Splenda creamer, and I added sugar-free maple brown sugar syrup to the mix, and it was tolerable. I don't really enjoy certain flavors, so maybe it's just me. But anyhow, not to be negative about my coffee, it's what's available, and I'll drink it and try to do my best to not complain too much about it. But anyhow, getting back to this American Cozy, what I've read so far, and it's a fair amount. It's intriguing. I like the fact that she literally goes to try to explain. Well, she doesn't try. She does a very good job of explaining what American Cozy, or the ideal of American Cozy, is. And the fact that she took ideas from the Japanese modern lifestyle and the the ideas of feng shui as well as the ideas of Danish Hagi and or Hugi, and combined the three of them to create this book. But she does have a lot of pointers about the fact of the American lifestyle, as most people know it, especially big city people, is just trying to cram too much. There's too much stuff, too much to be done, too many obligations to uphold, too much schedule, not enough free time, not enough downtime. That the average American person, from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed, is just all about getting stuff done, cramming as much stuff into your time or into your waking hours. Um, it's it's a confusing, chaotic world out there, and it's bad enough that we have the hustle and bustle of city life, the busy farm life. I mean, even the American farmer, they get up the butt crack of dawn, they go out there and they feed their animals and take care of their animals, and then they go out and do plowing and field work and just maintenance on their homes, just a lot of stuff that sometimes they don't have the, especially during especially during certain times of years where it's like you've got so many months to get your fields plowed and your crops planted and making sure they're watered and cared for, and you know that kind of stuff. And if you got a true American farm, you've probably got a couple head of cattle, some pigs, some chickens, maybe a horse or two. Plus, you got your field to deal with if you're growing your own crops. Even if you only got a small plot of land for crop growing, you have to get in there and till the ground and plant the seed and water the seed and fertilize the seed and all that fun gardening type stuff. And then you've got to do your daily maintenance of your livestock or your farm animals, and then make sure that you don't got critters getting into your garden to gobble up your produce for your household. um everybody between the ages of, let's say, that are, even nowadays with modern day families and whatnot, modern day lifestyle, children at a young age start emulating or learning from their parents and just start, busy, 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 busy. I mean, your good school age child not only are getting up with mom and dad, getting ready for school, shoveling down a quick breakfast, jumping on the school bus, going to school, dealing with school life, and then coming home and having to deal with chores, homework, dinner. If there's no family time, doing whatever they do for. I mean, children have it a little bit easier than adults because adults are the ones who are cramming everything they can in their 12, 16-hour day, and then going to bed, waking up, hopefully getting a decent night's sleep, and just basically our lives are basically, what is it? Wash, rinse, repeat. Kind of like what our daily lives have become. It's just like it's not an easy life, and trying to find comfort in a world that is doing everything it can to make you uncomfortable. Whether it's your daily routine, whether it's your work life, whether it's the clutter and cleaning and maintenance of your home. A lot of American people choose to live a chaotic lifestyle. And I know this because I used to live a chaotic lifestyle with my job and trying to balance job and home life, and it's not easy. Um, because then you get this feeling of regret, because it's like, oh man, I regret doing this. I regret doing this. I regret having this. I regret not having enough time for everything that needs to be done, and then end up having no time to myself. Um, I don't like the feeling of just rushing around trying to get everything done. That's why I'm happy now that I don't have to rush. But at the same time, I'm like, why does it have to be so darn difficult? Why does life have to be so displeasing or unhappy, or there's no rhyme or reason for it. It's what we choose. And okay, maybe I didn't choose to have this time off, or maybe I didn't choose to have lost a job. But the thing is, it is now my choice what to do. I don't have to worry about the schedule. I don't have to worry about the busy, chaotic life of my job, lack of fellow workers, or a lack of assistance, or a lack of one thing or another. I can now sit there and go, okay, it is Tuesday. What can I do today to make things go smoothly? What can I do to get these projects done, so once we're done with the projects, I can take it a little bit easier and do more fun stuff, or more stuff that I want to do? How can I schedule in time for everything that I need to do without feeling rushed or chaotic or uncomfortable? Um, don't know. I'm learning still. I'm learning what can be done. I'm learning to try to pace myself while enjoying my life and getting things done. And I think that's the whole meaning behind, you know, American cozy or hygge or any of that stuff, is the fact that it's like, if you're comfortable in your home, if your home makes you feel comfortable and you can look around and not feel discomfort or claustrophobic or cluttered or having too much, then good. You've done part of the job of becoming hygge. But since I'm not exactly comfortable in my own home because of what's going on, or what hasn't been done, or what needs to be done, I have to work on it. Life is a work in progress. You just have to learn how to be comfortable and hygge in your own life. That's what I've learned so far. Now, my mind or my knowledge or understanding might change because I'm still learning, but that's part of life, is learning to understand where things need to be changed, or how things need to be changed, or what needs to be changed. It's part of the ongoing experience of living. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and sign off because I don't want this to get too long. It's a little bit longer than I wanted, but that's all right. At least it's under 40 minutes so far. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put it in the question comment box. If you're new to my channel and have enjoyed this conversation or any of the other past videos, you can choose to subscribe. And then once you made that choice, a little bell will pop up, and you click on that bell, and YouTube will let you know when I put in my next video. And until next time, you guys have a good day. Enjoy. Bye.